Welcome to Copilot Podcasts. In a year filled with groundbreaking releases, one album has managed to stay completely under the radar. Today, we're diving into the mysterious world of Sam Cola and his new album, Nasty Work, a release so enigmatic it's got the whole industry talking.
You know, it's fascinating how in 2025, we've seen such a diverse range of album releases and promotional strategies.
Speaking of promotional strategies, what's your take on this ultra-low-key approach?
Well, it's interesting to note that in 2025, we've seen various approaches to album releases. Take J. Cole's Might Delete Later, for example. That was a surprise release that dominated conversations.
Right, and that was huge. It even debuted at number 2 on the Billboard 200.
Exactly. And what's particularly notable about 2025 is how the industry has evolved in terms of release strategies.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, looking at December 2025's release calendar, we're seeing artists taking very different approaches to how they put their music out there.
That's fascinating. How does this compare to other notable releases this year?
One of the most interesting trends we've seen is the rise of cross-cultural collaborations. Take the Zach Tabudlo and Nasty C collaboration. It showed how global hip-hop has become.
Oh yeah, that was a huge moment.
And it really demonstrated how artists from different backgrounds can come together to create something unique.
Do you think this trend is influencing how new artists approach their releases?
Absolutely. The industry has become much more open to different approaches and styles.
That's really interesting. How do you think this affects album rollouts?
Well, looking at the year-end lists and charts, we're seeing a real mix of traditional and unconventional release strategies.
Speaking of year-end lists, the timing of this release is pretty interesting, right?
Definitely. December releases can be tricky because of how they fit into year-end coverage.
How so?
Well, many publications have already finalized their best-of lists by early December. Rolling Stone, for instance, published their 100 best albums of 2025 on December 3rd.
That's a really good point.
And it can affect an album's visibility and critical reception.
Do you think that's intentional sometimes?
It can be. Some artists prefer to avoid the pressure of year-end list season.
That's fascinating. What other trends have you noticed in hip-hop this year?
One major trend has been the evolution of authenticity in hip-hop. The genre is becoming more diverse in terms of sound and approach.
Can you give us an example?
Well, looking at the Grammy Awards in February 2025, we saw recognition for a wide range of styles, from Kendrick Lamar's Not Like Us to Doechie's Alligator Bites, Never Heal.
That's quite a range.
And it shows how the industry is embracing different approaches to hip-hop.
How do you think this affects newer artists entering the scene?
It's created more space for experimentation and individual expression.
That's really encouraging.
Absolutely. And it's leading to some really interesting collaborations and crossovers.
Speaking of collaborations, what's your take on the international aspect of hip-hop in 2025?
It's been a landmark year for global hip-hop connections. We've seen artists from different continents coming together in unprecedented ways.
Any standout examples?
The Coke Studio collaborations have been particularly noteworthy, bringing together artists from different parts of the world.
That's really breaking down barriers.
And it's creating new sounds and perspectives in hip-hop.
How do you think this affects the way we consume music?
It's making the genre more accessible and diverse than ever before.
That's really interesting.
And it's changing how artists approach their craft.
In what way?
They're more willing to experiment with different styles and cultural influences.
That's fascinating. How does this relate to album releases?
Well, artists are becoming more creative with how they present their work to different audiences.
Can you elaborate on that?
We're seeing more artists release content in multiple languages and collaborate across genres.
That's really opening up new possibilities.
Exactly. And it's making the music industry more inclusive.
How do you think this affects the future of hip-hop?
It's creating a more diverse and dynamic landscape for the genre.
That's really exciting to think about.
And it's why releases like Sam Cola's are so intriguing. They're part of this evolving landscape.
Speaking of evolution, what do you think 2026 holds?
Based on what we've seen in 2025, I think we'll see even more boundary-pushing releases.
That's something to look forward to.
Definitely. The industry is becoming more open to different approaches.
Well, this has been a fascinating discussion about the state of hip-hop in 2025.
It really has. And it shows how dynamic and evolving the genre continues to be.
Any final thoughts?
Just that 2025 has been a landmark year for hip-hop, and these trends are likely to continue.
That's a great note to end on.
Indeed. The future of hip-hop is looking more diverse and exciting than ever.
Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode of Copilot Podcasts. Thanks for joining us on this exploration of hip-hop in 2025.
And remember, in this evolving landscape, sometimes the most intriguing releases are the ones that keep us guessing.
Exactly. Until next time, keep exploring the ever-changing world of music.